In this episode, we are going to talk all about how I go about publishing my podcast. So if you're wondering what the steps are to publish a podcast, this episode is a perfect one for you to tune into. Welcome to the Up in My Business podcast with me, Lex Lancaster, where you'll get an inside look at all things tech, business, and my life as a physical therapist turned digital operations expert. You'll hear all about my lessons as a business owner, the ins and outs of tech for your business, and more. From SEO, websites, and email marketing to automations, launches, and copywriting, I've got you. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Before we get started, I want to take a minute to just talk about our sponsor, Jane App. The Up in My Business podcast is sponsored by Jane, an all-in-one practice management software that offers intuitive features like booking, charting, and billing to help you run your practice. Jane knows payments are an everyday part of running a practice, and with that in mind, they've created a PCI-compliant payment solution that is amazing, by the way, called Jane Payments that offers flexible online and terminal payments for your practice. With Jane Payments, you can collect a credit card through an intake form or your online booking payment policy, which can be charged later on. You can also send payment requests via email or text to collect outstanding balances. You can learn more at jane.app/payments. Again, jane.app/payments, or use the code LEX1MO at jane.app/start to receive a 1-month grace period applied to your new Jane account. Welcome back to another episode of Up in My Business. My name is Lex, and I am the host of Up in My Business and the owner of Lex Lancaster Creative Co. If you're new here, welcome. And if you are a listener who has listened prior, which means you'd be a listener, then welcome back. I'm so excited to have you here. This episode, we are going to talk all about my podcast publishing process. It should be a pretty quick one, honestly. And yeah, I received that question on Instagram, so we're going to jump in. Now, I always like to start off with a little bit of a life update, so let's go through a couple things here, a couple exciting things. So I am still not in my typical space, so I'm trying to make everything work here. It's my first time recording a podcast in this space, so I'm going to see how it goes. I do have everything that I typically have except for my sound blockers, but they should be here today, so we will see how it goes and then adjust accordingly. Cool news, I did a presentation this past week for Jane App, and as you know, the podcast is sponsored by Jane. Thank you so much, Jane. And at that presentation, there were, I think it was 1,500 people registered, and at one point, there were 300 people on the live call. It was wild. I am so grateful. It was so much fun. We talked about SEO and websites and just basic tech stuff, and truly, I feel like what I anticipated people getting out of it was, yes, definitely something that I saw them get out of it, but I was so blown away by all of the extra stuff that people got. So if you were at that presentation, thank you so much for coming. And if you are going to watch the recording, please let me know what you think. I am so excited to welcome so many new people into my Instagram community after that podcast. And yeah, it was just so much fun. I can't even get over it. After the call, I left my office and I went for a walk and was decompressing. That's how I decompress. A lot of people I know decompress that way as well, but went right outside into the sunshine, was walking, and just couldn't help but feel super, super grateful for the opportunity that I had to be in front of so many people who genuinely are just my people. And it was just awesome. So huge thank you to Jane App for that. Huge thank you to everyone who came. And if you wanted to watch the recording, I think Jane is actually going to have a link to that in their bio. So don't quote me on that, but I think that was the case. So another cool thing is today is Friday, and I am going to Niagara Falls to meet up with Emma Jack. Emma and I, we both live about 2 hours from Niagara Falls, and I had texted her on, last Sunday, and I was like, hey, so do you want to meet up? And now we're going to meet up. So if you know anything about Emma, you know that she is like the planning genius. And I had mentioned obviously meeting up, and next thing I know, Emma had this elaborate wine tour planned with a lovely dinner and some night falls views. I can't even get over it. I'm so grateful for Emma. I am definitely like a planner. So if we go on a vacation, or if someone invites me on a vacation, or I want to plan a vacation, I love planning stuff to do. Not the type of person who's like on an itinerary, but I like to seek out things to do. So that way when you get there, you're not like, okay, what do we do? We're in a new place. We have no idea what's going on. So I am definitely that person. And to have Emma take that job and literally just blow it out of the water and have this whole experience planned, I'm just like so thankful. So we're going to be enjoying a lovely night on Friday today. And then tomorrow, headed back home to do lots of work. I have SEO school starting on Monday. So everyone who is in SEO school receives access to the course on Monday. I have a few things that I'm going to finish up as far as like emails go, but I'm super pumped for this cohort because I'm running it a little bit different, and all of my previous attendees of SEO school going to be opening up the Q&A calls for them as well, because I still think that there's a huge value in having a community group as a part of SEO school. So I'm just really pumped to have all of this. It was just amazing. It was such a great launch. I was going through some stuff in my personal life, and I was able to feel not exhausted because I just essentially, I wanted it to be easy. I don't like to, if you're a part of my community, I said it in the last episode, I don't love a hard launch. I don't love, being in front of people's faces and just kind of pushing my stuff. I just want you to know that it exists. And if you want it, cool. If you don't, awesome. Like, that's fine. And that's just the way that I like to rock and roll. And it was so good this round. I felt like I was doing everything that I wanted to do. And I felt like I was telling everyone exactly what they needed to know. And if they wanted it, they were joining. And if they didn't, they just told me, hey, look, I don't think I have the energy for this. I don't think I can do it right this second. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. So SEO school starting on Monday. And then other than that, I don't really have a ton of updates. I'm traveling to California in a week and a half-ish. Super excited for that. I kind of gonna tease something right now that I don't know if I'm supposed to be teasing yet, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I am going to be doing a joint offer with Shantae. So we are going to be doing some sort of smaller group joint offering, and we're still figuring out the details. But if you like working with Shantae and you like working with me, I think you will be super pumped to hear more details when we have them. Like I said, we're still in the initial planning stages, but there's going to be a wait list coming out. We're going to open up enrollment. We know this early summer, and then the program is going to start in September. So our whole goal is to essentially help people get things together prior to the new year. So yeah, keep your eyes open, and we're pumped. So I will make sure you have the details for the wait list and the details for the program as soon as I have them. Like I said, we still have to go through all the things. So yeah, super pumped. Super pumped. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's really it. Moosey girl is doing good. She's sleeping behind me. She's been playing with my parents' dogs and just been exhausted every single day. And also, I wanted to answer a question that came in through my DMs, or I put up a question box and I said, I like fun questions too, because I do. I love to answer fun questions. So if you have a fun question you want to ask, like, please ask it. Someone asked me if there was a story behind Moose's name, and there actually is a story behind her name. So Moose was going to be the name of mine and Kyle's first dog regardless, because the story behind the name is that a moose is part of all of the places that we had been to together. So at the time when we were getting a dog, we were like, what do we want to name our dog? We wanted to have some sort of meaning. And so New York, the reason Moose has to do with New York is because the moose was the mascot of Utica College. Technically, Utica College, the mascot is the Pioneer, but the animal is the moose. Make it make sense. I don't know. And also it's Utica University now, not college, but anyway. So that's the moose there. And then Alaska, I believe Alaska's state animal is the moose. And I can't remember if that was the case or if we were like, moose are in Alaska. And then New Hampshire also has the moose. So the reason why we chose moose was because it kind of linked Alaska, New York, and New Hampshire, and Alaska was like a really pivotal place for us personally. So we wanted it to mean something, her name, and so we named her Moose. And we did not plan on getting a female dog, actually. We planned on getting a male dog. And so we had named him, quote unquote, Moose. But then when she was available, I was like, well, I personally love gender neutral names. So if I were to ever have children or want to have children, my kids would all have gender neutral names. I absolutely love the name Blake. I love the name Ryan. And I love gender neutral names the best. I mean, I have Alexis, but if I could go back, I think I would see if I could pull off an Alex. I love gender neutral names. Anyway, fun fact about me. So Moose being, I mean, I think most animals can be gender neutral names, but either way, Moose was super gender neutral. She still gets called a boy every single time we go to the vet. Was very terrifying when she was at her spay and they were like, is he ready to get neutered? And I was like, well, she is a girl, so no. Emma, Jack, and I talked about that. I was like, because Gunner, her dog is Gunner, and Gunner is also one of those like gender neutral names. So anyway, that's the story behind Moose's name. So Moose's name does mean something to us. It was just basically linked the 3 places that meant a lot to us. I'm from New York and we went to college in New York together. We lived in New Hampshire, the clinic's in New Hampshire. He's from New Hampshire. And then Alaska, which was a huge pivotal moment in our personal life. So yeah, that's the story behind Moose's name. Truthfully, I freaking love fun questions like that. So please either DM me, email me, anything. I love it. This is the best. I love answering fun questions like that because otherwise you wouldn't really know the answer to that question. So yeah, I guess realistically, I think that's all I got for updates. I'm tallying stuff in my head right now just to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. But yeah, I think that's it. So here's the thing. Let's talk about the podcast publishing process. So I'm just going to literally go through the exact steps that I take. But the things that you need to know about me are that I learned everything that I know about podcasting from Shantae Cofield, so the Move It Maestro. In her Instagram bio, there is a podcast ebook. If you have not downloaded it yet, please download it. Simple as that. Like that will teach you everything you need to know about all the details. And I'm not going to tell you how to podcast today. I'm just going to tell you what my process is. So please don't ask me like, what is the mic that you use? I mean, I'll tell you, it's the Shure mic. The Shure, is it the MV5 or MV7? I don't know. I still don't know the answer to this question. I was asked yesterday on that webinar and then I don't know. Anyway, I use the Shure mic, also have used the Blue Yeti mic. All of that stuff though is in that podcasting ebook. So I'm not going to go through that stuff today and like go through the details on podcasting. Just go download Shantae's ebook because that's who I learned it from. Please and thank you. Just makes everyone's life easier. I'm just going to go through how I do my podcast. So the things that you also need to know are that I don't do video. So there's no video with my podcast on purpose. Once again, because Shantae said don't do it video yet. And 2, because it makes recording much easier for me. I do not need to have a nice background. I do not need to get ready to host a podcast or to talk to my microphone and be by myself. So I don't have a video for my podcast. So if you're looking to do a video podcast, I'm not your girl. And if you want video podcast, go see Doc Joe O. So Instagram, Doc Joe O, DocJoeo. And he does all the YouTube video stuff. So anyway, I don't do video. And I am not the person who edits my podcast. So what you hear is what was the first take. There's no like I mess up and I stutter sometimes and I have a lot of ums or like that every once in a while. And I don't edit that out. So I am not the person who's going to sit here and edit my podcast. I don't have the time for it. And quite frankly, it's actually like how I operate in life. Like this is how I show up. If you don't like it, cool. And you can't like edit the way that you talk in real life. So I say real life in person. So I just kind of treat my podcast that way as well. I feel like if it always sounded super professional or super perfect, then it wouldn't really illustrate me as a human. So yeah, that's kind of my outlook on that. I don't do transcripts. So if you're looking for like to put a transcript with your podcast, which can be a really great thing for SEO if you want to do that, I don't do that. Too much time and I don't want to. So I don't do that part. But other than that, realistically, the only other thing is that if you don't have a Mac, the things that I say are not going to apply to you. So I use things that are Mac-based, Apple-based. So if you don't have that, then sorry. Lastly, I have another podcast episode about SEO for podcasts that talks about some of this stuff. I recommend going to listen to that one as well because you're going to get a little bit more detail as far as like Just small details that I recommend you do. And what I mean when I talk about, because today I'm going to mention something and you're going to be like, well, what does that mean? It's totally laid out in that other episode. So step one to record my podcast, let's jump in. Step one, I just literally open up GarageBand and I record my intro track. So I record the first track of like, this podcast episode is going to be about blah, and then I stop it. Then I open up another track and then I record my Jane app advertisement, my Jane app sponsor. Then I stop it. Then I record another track and I do this entire track, right? So I record my entire podcast. And then once I'm done, I stop the track. So now I have 3 different tracks that are starting at different times. Well, now I have to put my intro and outro on there. So I have a file saved on my computer. It's an MP3 file. I drag and drop the intro in, and then I drag and drop the outro into GarageBand. So I'm in GarageBand this whole time, dragging intro in, drag and drop the outro in. Then I have to use my mouse and I have to move things around because obviously I have to do the little bitty intro that I make, like what this podcast is going to be about. And then I have to do my intro music. Then I have to do the advertisement from Jane. Then I have to do the podcast. Then I have to do the outro. So I'm literally just dragging all of the pieces so that they're in order. This entire time I have my headphones in. So I'll go to the end of that first track, that intro track, and I'll match it up so I have the intro music coming in at the right time. You just line it right up. Literally, line it right up. And then once I have it lined up, I just go right up to the share button on GarageBand, and I export the song to disk, and I choose MP3 high quality, and then that downloads. So now I have an audio file with my entire podcast. So once again, opening up GarageBand, I record all of the sections. I have an intro and an outro that I previously recorded when I first started my podcast. I just drag and drop those MP3 files in there, put them at the beginning, put it at the end, make sure all of the things line up. So I have my little intro, my intro music, the Jane sponsorship recording, my podcast, and then the outro. So I'm lining everything up, right? Then I am sharing, export song to disk, save as MP3. There's that. So that's the whole like audio component. Like I said, I don't edit my podcast. You don't hear me. I will 1000% tell you this is my honest thing. I do not re-listen to my podcast. I have no clue what I say. I don't sit here and re-listen to them. That is not a thing I do. I don't have the time for it. I don't want to do it. I know what I just said because I do everything on the same day. So I just literally export song to disk and I'm done. Okay. So that's my podcast. I have the file. Now I go into Buzzsprout. I drag and drop it into Buzzsprout and it uploads. I make a title for it. I type it right into Buzzsprout. I have a title or I have a description that I will type up and put into Buzzsprout. Okay, so the description of the episode. I kind of skipped a step. In the beginning, I'll write some notes out on my computer. So if you haven't noticed, I kind of freestyle stuff, but I do have like some notes written down. So in my Apple Notes, I'll put like notes before I record and I'll just say the points that I definitely want to hit. Anyway, so I'll take the show notes. I'll make the show notes inside Buzzsprout. I will go to Canva and make an episode graphic. So I'll add the title, I'll add the episode number, my graphic if I have a guest. If I have a guest graphic, I'll make that. I'll drop that graphic into Buzzsprout. And then from there, Buzzsprout gives you the, like, what episode number is it? What season is it? You have to fill out those things inside Buzzsprout. So I'll fill that stuff out. And then I'll schedule the post for the next Monday because that's when I release my episodes. So schedule the post for next Monday. That's when I release. Then I'll go over to my website and I'll go to my podcast page and I will do the same exact process on Squarespace. So I will go to Squarespace, go to my podcast section. I will create it's technically a blog post. It's technically a blog section. So I'll go to the blog section, do a new post, and I'll put the title. I'll literally copy and paste from Buzzsprout, copy the title, paste it into Squarespace, copy the body, paste it into Squarespace. I'll put an audio block at the top. So I'll add an audio block. I'm sorry, not an audio block. Back up. I'll add an embed or a code block. It doesn't really matter which one. Go to Buzzsprout. On the right-hand side, it says embed this episode. I believe it's embed this episode only is technically what it says. You click that, copy the code, you paste it in the code block on Squarespace. Now your player is there. I go and I hit save. And then I go to the 3 little dots on the back end to add my artwork. So I'll go to the blog, add my artwork, the same artwork I just put into Buzzsprout. And then what I'll do is I'll schedule that for Monday. And then that's my podcast. I'm done. That's it. So the whole thing, if I had to tell you like how long my podcast takes me to plan, record, upload, and be done with it, I would say like an hour. And if I have a guest, it's obviously a little bit longer because Emma and I talked for like an hour. So, it's like 2 hours. But anyway, so that's really my whole podcast process. And that's it, because I don't do other stuff. So if you're someone who does transcripts or videos, or you want to plan out the entire episode, it's going to take you longer. For me, that's really like the process that works for me. It's been super easy, super sustainable. I can just do this on a Friday on a whim and it's good. So yeah, that's the podcast process that I have. And so once again, it's Garageband. We record all the things, put all the things together, line them up. We go into Buzzsprout, we upload that, we put in the title, the show notes, fill out the stuff that Buzzsprout wants, the episode number, etc. Go to Canva, create the graphic for the podcast episode, upload that graphic into Buzzsprout, save that and schedule it for the right day. Then I'll get out of Buzzsprout, I'll just go to a different window, open up Squarespace, make that post, copy and paste everything Buzzsprout to Squarespace, makes it super easy. Don't need to redo that work. Don't forget that audio block at the top of that blog post, because you want to make sure people can listen to that podcast inside that page. And once again, go listen to the other podcast I did about podcasts, because I will SEO for podcasts, because I will link it here. Please listen to that one, because it describes why I'm doing what I'm doing, this process. And then I will add the episode artwork on the back end for the featured image for the blog post, and then I will schedule it, and I'm done. And that's my whole process. So for the person who asked this question, thank you so much, Krista. If you have questions, please let me know. If anyone else has questions, please let me know. But once again, the software that you need: Garageband, Buzzsprout, Squarespace. So there's 3 things that I use. Garageband is free. It comes with Mac. Buzzsprout, I'm on the $12 plan a month. Squarespace, well, I pay a lot of money for Squarespace because I have a whole store and all the things. So that's really the whole thing. Please let me know if you have questions. I loved that this question was asked in my question box. So once again, always open to questions. I have to record an episode every week for the rest of forever. So love, love, love the suggestions for episodes. So please let me know what you got. And thank you so, so much for listening. And if you have questions, as always, please let me know. And thank you so much for joining. I will see you next time.